Jason swore he was a lifelong bachelor, he could give me everything except a wedding ring. Then, beneath the northern lights, he dropped to one knee for his secretary. When I confronted him, voice cracking, he iced me out. 5 years, Ava. I'm bored. I'll never belong to just one woman. I keep you around out of nostalgia. Grow up and think. Exactly the way he wanted, I grew up. I packed a single suitcase and flew to France without a glance back. Later, when my own wedding was days away, he went crazy trying to pry the engagement ring off my finger. Marry me instead. Don't say yes to him, please. I love you, Ava. Pity how easily hearts pivot, his pivoted, and so did mine. Ava, the Martin boy is quite a catch, at least meet him before you decide. Fine. For the 20th time Mom begged me to come home to Paris and marry well. She expected another refusal, but this time I said yes. She was so stunned she lost her words. Terrified I'd change my mind, she rattled off a few hurried instructions and hung up. The bass in the club booth throbbed against my skull. I couldn't hear a word she said after yes. All I could do was stare at the couple under the spotlight. My boyfriend and his executive secretary. They sat hip to hip while the crowd chanted for a kiss. Brielle lowered her lashes, pretending shyness, and Jason curved an arm around her. He swept the onlookers with a warning glare, then tipped her face up, murmuring something tender. He laced his fingers through her hair and kissed her, hard. The teasing hushes morphed into a roar. A girl behind me squealed, CEO and his executive, so true love. Needles of pity pierced through the mob and found me. I bit my lip until blood bloomed copper. I'm half Chinese. I didn't set foot in my mother's country until I was 18, and when I limped through campus with broken Mandarin, begging directions, Jason's grin was pure devilry. How did a freshman wander into the med school labs? Haven't dissected a foreign specimen yet. Did upperclassmen finally get one delivered? My Mandarin was too shaky. I burst into tears, convinced I'd stumbled into a psychopath. The moment he saw the tears, his swagger collapsed. He fumbled tissues, lugged my suitcases, stuffed me with snacks, and even marched to my dorm to make my bed before I finally stopped sobbing. He exhaled, "You scare easy, you know that?" He claimed I scared him, yet he kept coming, sliding into my lecture hall when he had no class, watching me while I took notes. When he did have class, he still sprinted across campus just to walk me to lunch. I like solitude. I always slipped away the second the bell rang. Jason would grouse and stomp, but he never once turned his temper on me. So at last I began waiting for him so we could eat together. That wait lasted all the way to Jason's graduation. That afternoon we walked side by side, and when I thought about never seeing Jason again, my nose stung with how much I would miss him. For the second time since we met, I cried like a fool right in front of him, sobbing until I could barely breathe. Jason cupped my face and stared at me. "Ava, let's be together. I really love you. I don't want us to part. Don't go back to France, all right?" He kissed the tears from my cheeks and said, "I'll love you till the world ends." I stared at Jason with no expression. When the kiss finally ended, he drew back from Brielle. He gave a lazy smile, eyes drifting until they brushed mine and paused, then flicked away. In that instant I saw it plainly, disgust and impatience in his gaze. When I reached the house alone, the phone rang. Brielle's voice came through, "VP, could you bring the CEO's boxers to the Monarch Hotel? He was in such a rush tonight he didn't prepare anything, and nothing on the street is open, so I have to bother you." I should have felt my heart sliced open, but all I felt was numb. Without a word I ended the call. She didn't call back, only sent a string of photos. The white bed was rumpled, his clothes and hers strewn everywhere. I opened the message my mother had sent. "Your ticket is booked for 2 weeks from now. Get ready these next few days." I climbed off the bed, pulled out my suitcase, and began packing my things, only mine. Everything Jason had given me I left exactly where it was. At 7 a.m. the front door opened. Jason frowned at me, then walked upstairs as if I weren't there. Moments later he thundered down again. Ava, where's your stuff in the master suite? I moved it to the guest room. Having the suitcase ready now would let me leave the moment I needed. Jason gave a cold laugh, furious. You're sulking? The second you overstepped and brought up marriage, you should have seen this coming. You think you're still a kid who gets whatever she wants by throwing a tantrum? 5 years, I'm bored stiff. I'll never have only one woman. Letting you stay is already out of loyalty to what we had. Ava, grow up and use your brain. I finally was grown up, that was why I was going back to France. He kept hurling insults yet showed no sign of leaving. I pressed my lips together. It'll also make it easier for Brielle to move in. Jason's expression shifted, the confirmation I needed that Brielle meant more to him than he admitted. Not long after Jason and I got together, I realized he loved the chase, but he hadn't actually cheated until Brielle came along and became the exception. Now everyone at Vance knew the boss and his secretary were a couple, and overnight I, the certified girlfriend, had been demoted to the hidden mistress. Jason raked a hand through his hair irritably. Move your things back right now. I'm not repeating myself. Luckily, before I could refuse, his phone rang, Brielle's custom ringtone. I watched his expression soften in an instant. He answered, and after only a few words his voice was dripping with honeyed indulgence. He glanced at me, then turned his back as if afraid I might eavesdrop. When the call ended, Jason tossed out, "Something's come up at Vance," snatched the car keys, and left. I didn't obey him and moved back into the master suite, and after he came home in the middle of the night he never mentioned it again. Because he brought Brielle home. Even though I tried not to look, I passed the wide-open door of the master suite and saw the chaos inside. A wave of disgust hit me. Every piece of furniture, every item of decor in that room had been chosen by me, yet at that moment they all felt contaminated. So did their owner. When I went downstairs, Jason was coaxing Brielle through breakfast with total concentration. Brielle sounded almost apologetic, "VP, don't laugh at me. My stomach's delicate, and the CEO can't bear to see me skip a meal." In a daze I remembered that when I'd first come back from abroad I hadn't been used to the local food. After one meal Jason had panicked because I'd only taken 2 bites. From then on he coaxed me through every meal. Out in the world he was cold and unapproachable, no one could picture him murmuring encouragements just to get someone to eat one more bite. I still remember him saying, "I've never stooped this low, Ava. Throw me a bone and take another bite, will you?" Probably because he'd rehearsed on me, he's now effortlessly tender with another woman. After breakfast I headed to Vance. Jason caught my hand and said we should ride together. I shook him off. He froze, obviously unsettled by my sudden cold shoulder, then glared at me for several seconds before striding away, his trench coat flaring with temper. Brielle sat in his passenger seat, their exhaust blasted my face. I spent 20 minutes hailing a cab to reach Vance. The company was opening a brand new sector. I'd spent ages preparing a pitch deck to fight for this chance. I had to give it everything and had no energy left to waste on love games. I stepped into the boardroom. Jason didn't even glance at me. His gaze rested gently on Brielle, who stood at the front, but his words were ice. "Looks like VP doesn't value this project. Decided to grace us after everyone else has spoken." The meeting was set for 9, it was now 8:58. Every eye swiveled to me, whispers swelling. I stood mortified. Only when Brielle began did Jason magnanimously allow me to sit. I turned to the screen, and my face strained. When her turn ended it was mine, but I stayed frozen. Impatient pressure mounted, Jason flicked his lighter. He isn't a smoker, when the flame sparks, it means he's stretched to the limit. Yet I couldn't move, because Brielle's slideshow was my pitch deck. Brielle flashed me a smile, then someone from executive stepped up to the podium and plugged in a flash drive. "All pitch decks were sent to me last night," she chirped. "Let me pull up VP's for her." The slideshow that appeared was identical to Brielle's in every way except the producer's name. An immediate uproar swept the boardroom. VP's deck is pixel for pixel the same as executives, who's copying whom? Brielle just presented it flawlessly. Obviously VP ripped her off. Besides, Brielle's the CEO's girlfriend, she'd never need to steal a VP's idea. Thought Ava was decent, but now. Brielle swung toward me, eyes wide with theatrical hurt and shock. My face drained of color, then snapped to Jason. He knew. He knew this pitch deck was mine, every slide born from a month of all-nighters. He'd even teased me one night after we'd finished making love, laughing that I was hunched over my laptop, sore and exhausted, adorably serious about my little presentation. Jason's gaze was dark as he ground out his cigarette but unreadable. I stared at him, pleading. Brielle lifted her tear-filled eyes to him too. Jason twisted his watch, then looked straight at me. Ava, I'm disappointed in you. With that sentence Jason crushed the last ember of attachment I still carried. I had already stopped clinging to him, only the career I'd built kept me tethered. Now he had personally demolished that too. Overnight, the entire company gave me a cold shoulder. Even the intern I mentored talked back to me, openly and in whispers. I stared at Jason, hollow. You know I built that deck. My gaze seemed to ignite his temper. It's just a pitch deck. Let Brielle have it. Don't be so petty. I was trembling with rage. It was my idea, my life's work. Jason lit another cigarette, impatience flickering across his face. Then think up another one. Brielle isn't as sharp as you, you'll get more chances. Let her ride this one. He once swore he'd never let me feel wronged. In the end, the greatest wrong came from his own hand. My tears finally hit the carpet. After graduation I hadn't returned to France, where I grew up. I'd stayed here alone only because Jason was here. Today, willing or not, I had to admit these 5 years had been a farce. Jason stood in silence, then stepped closer and wiped my tears away, one by one. All right, Ava. Brielle was out of line. I apologize for her. Tonight I'll have the Patek Philippe you've always wanted delivered, okay? That night Jason never came home. I scrolled past Brielle's WhatsApp story. Someone insists on taking me on every business trip, too clingy, right? Geotagged Hong Kong, the photo showed a twilight Victoria Harbor and a brand new Patek Philippe Celestial. It was the exact model I'd wanted. I hit like, then dropped the Patek that had just arrived at my door straight into the trash. The wedding preparations in France were already underway. I had no time to mope over a love that was dead. What I hadn't expected was for the bridal boutique to call Jason's phone. When his name flashed across my screen, I had just finished confirming the ring size with a Parisian high jewelry atelier. His voice sounded hesitant, yet contradictorily urgent. Ava, did you order a wedding gown? I hesitated. I wasn't about to let Jason ruin my mood just as my new life was about to begin. I kept my tone as casual as possible. Yeah, the designer is famous for bridal wear. I thought I'd secure one early. Jason was still skeptical. When did you place the order? I didn't see any big charges on your supplementary credit card. The brand was astronomically expensive, my modest salary couldn't begin to cover it. But everything for the wedding was being handled by my fiancé's family, and I'd almost tripped myself up. I could only say, just the deposit for now. Silence stretched between us. I couldn't tell whether he believed me. After a long moment his strained voice came through. Ava, you know I can't give you marriage. I just wanted to end the call. It's fine. Ordering the gown was only to satisfy a whim. Jason paused, then spoke so softly I almost mistook it for tenderness. Once I wrap things up in Hong Kong, I'll come straight home. Less than 2 days later he was back, hauling a suitcase stuffed with gifts for me, the same ritual from every trip before Brielle appeared. That night we drove to our alma mater. I didn't know how many years would pass before I could walk these paths again, and nostalgia tugged at me. He reached for my hand. Before our fingers could interlace, I quietly slipped mine free. Jason frowned but said nothing. On the way we ran into an old academic. Seeing us together, he beamed. I always knew you two would end up together. So, married yet? Jason's expression froze, he gave an awkward cough. I smiled. Almost. I was indeed about to get married. Jason's heavy gaze rested on my back, layered with emotions I didn't care to decode. He took my hand again, this time locking our fingers so tightly I couldn't pull away. We strolled down the campus avenue, blending in with every other couple. Jason said, "I can give you everything except marriage." I shook my head, still smiling. "It doesn't matter." He tried to kiss me. I turned my face, and the kiss landed on my cheek. Thanks for listening to today's story. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it? If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and share it with friends. We can't wait to read your thoughts in the comments. Be sure to subscribe for more captivating stories. See you next time.